Hey, this is We're Not Pros. You're probably wondering why you can only hear us and not see us today. It's because I am an idiot and I can't prepare ahead of time no matter how hard I try for everything. My name is Joseph.
And I'm Matt, and so we didn't burn down the studio again?
No, we did not burn down the studio. It is in the process of being burned. We've signed the contract and everything is ready to go. We just have to, negotiate times and we're fine. We're in a friend's apartment right now, and he actually has other microphones, but I don't really want to use those because I don't want to use his things and then find out that there's fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's a matter of when you're squatting, you always want to make sure you don't, like, you've been invited to be
House
here.
sitting.
Okay, well, yeah, well, you've been invited to be here, but there's always that one line you're not supposed to, like, you can't go and try to find their. I just realized that example might be very inappropriate for any younger children in our audience, and thus has immediately been terminated.
Okay, it is possible that some younger kids are, but let's face it, at this point, kids, they listen to pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet is so accessible. But today, I am wearing my Nintendo shirt, the same one that I wore for last season's Nintendo episode. And the reason why is because we are going to do the opposite of the last Nintendo episode. I guess I could have worn an opposite shirt. I tried to turn it inside out, but there was nothing, so.
Yeah, it was a little boring.
But today we are going to be critical of Nintendo.
Oh, you could be wearing a Microsoft shirt. That would be the opposite of Nintendo.
No, that would just be mean.
I think you'd put it on, it would just magically transform to a Zelda shirt somehow.
Yeah, Miyamoto would just like kick down the door and be like, "I had trusted you." Terrible, terrible accent. Okay, the reason why we wanted to do this is I feel like
Isn't he dead?
no, you're thinking of Iwata.
Oh, right.
Moment of silence for Mr. Iwata. One of the reasons why I think it's important for somebody like me, who is a huge Nintendo fan, to be critical is that no one's going to criticize you as well as the people who love you or the people who actually care about the company.
You hurt the ones you love. That's why people are into BDSM.
GLaDOS, when did you get here? And I mean, if you talked to like a Sony fanboy or a Microsoft fanboy, God may their souls rest in peace. It's really easy for them to kind of get caught up in the fact that they dislike something, and then they'll sort of amplify things that maybe aren't really that big of a deal. Arena game players are notorious for doing this too. The people who dislike League of Legends and the people who dislike Dota 2, they really go against each other's throats. They love telling each other that their games are shit. I do it. I'm a part of it. I'm part of the problem, and I would never give that up. But
There also is a bit of a difference between a regular fan and a fanboy. I like Sony. I will be, I've definitely said they've done a bunch of things wrong. They've done a bunch of things right, et cetera, et cetera. I would probably never go so far to say I'm a fanboy. It's just I like them. I like a lot of stuff they've done. I feel like they, could, if they want to, concentrate into a bit of a better niche and really dominate the market, but instead they've really been branching out, try to appeal to everybody. Yeah, this isn't a Sony episode, so I'm going to stop myself there.
we do intend to do one of those.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, my first criticism of Nintendo, and this is contemporary criticism. I don't really care about the choices they make back in Super Nintendo or the whole N64 thing. In fact, very briefly, I commend Nintendo for sticking to cartridges because the quality of the game at the time, it looked better anyways. The 64-bit versus the 32-bit N64 games were better looking. They just didn't have the whole FMV CG cutscene thing. But
Well, there's two advantages to that. First of all, if situation breeds innovation or limitations breed imitation. I'm trying to remember exactly how.
limitations breed innovation. That sounds like the right way to go about it.
Yeah, that sounds like something I should put on a T-shirt. Anyways, the point is that they were able to establish not only an art style but an overall feel because they were somewhat limited. They couldn't do the amazing try to go for realism graphics. They did sort of a cartoony, fun. Everything pops. Everything is immediate recognized. I find it funny how I ended up peeking on the word pops.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of it that I think everyone keeps forgetting is that cartridges have no load time.
Nope.
Think of how amazing that is. Think of some of the games where you've been sitting around waiting for it to start, and sometimes it's short, and sometimes it's, they hide it. I think Dead Space was the first major game to hide their loading screen behind
Metroid Prime did it. Whenever you would shoot a door, that's when they're loading the next map. And so you notice that sometimes the door wouldn't open right away. And that's because they had to load the map. And then when the door opens, the map was ready for you. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and that is interesting. But back in the cartridge era, everything was just loaded immediately. You turn it on, you go, and yes, the title screens had to go from black, fade in, and then fade out. So that made it feel like it was taking damn forever. That's because they're just getting too artistic with their loading screens. But think of the number of games that have been cited on their outrageous loading times. Soul Calibur 3 had ridiculous fucking loading times. Bloodborne has bad loading times. I think in Yahtzee's look at, I would never call Zero Punctuation a reviewing show, but I still like it. I'm still a fan. I just don't think what he does is reviews. Like his look at Bionic Commando, the 3D whatever one, had like, his biggest complaint was that the loading times seem to take forever.
And yeah, I mean, in a game like, I mean, there have been creative ways in the past that they've managed to solve the problem. One of my favorite ones was when you would go through a door in Resident Evil or up a stairs, and it would do the whole door opening animation thing. And there's actually one time where you open the door and a bunch of zombies come walking through the door, and you go back to the room you were supposed to have left, and the zombies are coming after you, and that was really clever. And it also actually managed to add to the tension because it kind of made you dread not knowing what was on the other side. It was a very clever way of doing it. But that's okay. Let's stop that tangent there. That's just for people who maybe have been wondering what my opinion was on that whole N64 thing. Modern, I have a couple of major criticisms of Nintendo. The silliest one out of all of them is the amiibo system right now. A lot of people have been very vocal about not being able to get a hold of the amiibos that they want, and they have been upset with the whole rarity system, how some amiibos are just like next to impossible to find, and then other amiibos are like commons. They have sort of taken the same route that card games seem to have, where some cards are just dirt cheap. You can get them anywhere. You can always go to a store and you always see a Mario amiibo. And then you have uncommons, you have rares, and then you have legendary ones. Now, I, for one, never thought that Wii Fit Trainer was going to be a legendarily hard amiibo to find. In fact, had I known that I was going to end up playing Wii Fit Trainer and Smash regularly, I would have picked her up when she was $14.99 when no one had any idea what was going on. And yet now I went to A&C Games, a great place here in Toronto for all your gaming needs. They're not sponsoring us, but I feel like we should go to them for sponsoring.
I feel like they should be providing me with my novelty T-shirts.
Yeah, exactly. And t-shirts at the very least. There was a Wii Fit Trainer there, and she was $50.
See, I was looking at Greninja, and even he wasn't that expensive.
I walked in the morning, or like 3 o'clock when the Smash hadn't started yet, and I saw Zero Suit Samus amiibo there. When I left, she was gone, and she was like $29.99. I'm like, shit, I should have gotten that for my buddy. It's his birthday.
Well, the amiibo thing, I think, started with, regrettably, Skylanders, who... Well, okay, everyone's had the whole collectible thing, where
Right.
somehow what you have offline interacts with what was online. Remember Eye of Judgment, which, if they did that correctly, that would have
remember
been
that.
would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was the proper commitment to it, and all that stuff. And then Skylanders was doing it with the Skylander toys. Disney has jumped onto it to infinity. I'm not quite sure where they hit on the time scale, but I think they're the most recent one, if I remember correctly.
I think Disney Infinity might have come out just a little bit before the amiibos, just a tad.
I think close enough that they probably had corporate spies telling each other that it was happening.
Yeah, it's all been within the last 4 years.
Yeah, the nice thing, at least, is with the amiibos and with the Disney Infinity stuff, is they actually do interact with the game. And the amiibos, I don't think, like, it doesn't just generate a computer of whatever it is. Like, if you buy a Wii Fit Trainer, it isn't just, there's a Wii Fit Trainer loaded on here. You can load whatever character you want onto it.
No,
right?
it is the character specific.
It is character
Yeah,
specific.
so the Wii Fit Trainer amiibo will be your Wii Fit Trainer.
Okay, maybe I don't know enough about those. But at least in Disney Infinity, you buy it, you put it on the pedestal, and congratulations, you can now play as Rocket Raccoon in a video game. And I'd have to say, why wouldn't you want to play as Rocket Raccoon in a video game?
I would love a Rocket Raccoon amiibo.
He blows everything up. That's all he does every day.
Yeah. I mean, his name's Rocket, for God's sakes. Yeah. It's everyone realizing how fun this is going to be. I enjoy it. The first 4 amiibos that I collected, I didn't pay for a single one of them. 3 gifts and one I won as a prize, and it's nice because they are trophies. They are a thing that you can put on display and be proud of, and it feels good. I don't understand, and a lot of people have the same criticism, is that we don't understand where this whole rarity is coming from. And initially, my thought was Nintendo just didn't realize what was going to happen. They didn't expect so many people to want, say, the Wii Fit Trainer amiibo, so they only put out so many. But they expected everyone to want the Mario one, so they made one Mario amiibo for every single Wii U. Now, personally, I think if the amiibos were announced like a year after the Wii U tablet even was released, as kind of like a like a secret surprise ace in the hole kind of thing. I think if they had announced the amiibos along with the Wii U, and even included the Mario amiibo with the Wii U, maybe that alone would have been enough to interest people in how this can work. Because then you would have attracted the collector audience even more so, people who like to just have things.
Yeah, but the amiibos work specifically with their games, right? It's anything labeled Smash Brothers is an amiibo that only does something in Smash Brothers. Anything labeled, okay, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing a head shake, but then it was a nod.
You can plug that amiibo into other things too. So I mean, the games obviously have the responsibility to decide if they want to use it or not. But like my Link amiibo from Smash can be used in Hyrule Warriors, and then you get a special weapon. It's the spin top. It actually is the one that looks the most like the stand that Link would actually be on the trophy. It was a nice touch. It was smart. Yeah. And yeah, just like being able to actually get access to these things. I mean, I don't mind things being rare, but I do mind when they're being rare
Cause.
without cost. Exactly. Like if they deliberately said that the Palutena one is going to be extremely difficult to find because she's a goddess and it shouldn't be that easy to get. Okay, sure, I understand. And then you can put that as a prize. I mean, you can host an online tournament and say the winner gets the Palutena amiibo. That's special. That's really something. But instead, they just released them as many as they thought people were going to buy, and now they're high in demand. And it's fascinating how easy it is to take these stupid little rank-a-dink trophies with some data on them and turn them into this huge money-making thing. I just I don't want to criticize without offering some sort of like solution to the problem. And for me, the easiest solution is if because money is becoming a problem with these things and accessibility is becoming a problem with these things, time is the only factor that hasn't really changed. You either have it or you don't. So I think an online store on the Nintendo website to allow people to buy these amiibos in advance and then knowing that it's going to be a while before you actually get them, it's not the obviously the preferable way. The preferable way would have been all amiibos accessible all the time, but we can't have that. So we need to at least guarantee that people are going to get these things. Because I also don't want to be in the position where I pick it up for $40 and then Nintendo decides to publish or produce a whole bunch and then it's not worth anything. It wasn't like I'm not trying to resell it. I'm not trying to flip it for 80. I just want it and I don't want to spend the $40 to get it.
Well, the problem is a lot of people are going to flip it. If you do have pre-ordering available, rest assured there's going to be somebody with an eBay account who's just going to go in, buy as many as they can, and then flip, wait a month or so, then flip it. And there's lots of ways to get around ordering limits. Like people will say you can only order so many of a particular thing.
And then they just get their friend to
order it, or they make multiple accounts or something like that. It's very easy to get around that. And I at least want to give Nintendo a bit of credit for choosing not to blind box it, because I feel like that would be a real big kick to the groin. The fact that each of the...
I have to shut the window.
Okay.
As if this room wasn't hot enough.
You can actually hear that in it?
Yep. I heard it. Of course, I have better headphones on my ears. I would have let you listen to them, but I haven't disinfected these and I've been wearing them for a year, so you're welcome. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off. You were saying?
Well, at least they didn't blind box it, because I feel that would have been a pretty major kick, especially since each one of these things has a purpose. If you have a Smash Brothers one, you plug it into Smash Brothers, it gives you a Smash Brothers NPC. So if they
Yep.
were blind boxing it, you could be swarmed with Mario NPCs. Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, Nintendo. I don't think Mario is quite as popular as you seem to think he is. I get that he's your poster boy. I
Yeah.
get that he's your poster boy.
I have no problem having a Mario amiibo. I just don't. I mean, he's been.
You got your one.
Yeah.
You don't need one with a coin block head. You don't need one with a Tanuki suit. You don't need one that's metal. You don't need one with shit. It's been a while since I played one of them.
You know, just well, you could have the silver edition one. You could have the one where he's down on his luck and he's pulling his pockets out, showing that he has no coins left. So you could have. I'm making these up now. I don't know. I love Mario the same way I love my parents. I mean, they're there, and I'm grateful. And obviously, I would rather have them in my life than not. But I don't need to seek out my parents. They're right there. So again,
You don't need 50 copies of your parents.
no. If they had included the Mario amiibo with it with the Wii U, like some sort of pack-in, that's one of the things that has really like irked me, especially not just in the Wii U, but in the last couple of releases. Any company who releases a console without giving you at least one game to play, it loses a point in my book. And Nintendo has lost some points because of this as well. Wii came with Wii Sports. It's not gonna you can't get it's not gonna last you the 7 years that the system was out, but at least it gets you and everyone in your house interested in the system. And the idea was these people might want to go out and pick up some other games, and then of course, Nintendo didn't monitor how much crap was going to be on the system, literally shovelware.
Yeah, well, I think there are a lot of, I know, special bundles. Like there was an Arkham Knight
There is.
PS4 and a Destiny PS4.
I got the Wii U Deluxe with Nintendo Land. That thing that I played just once.
Well, the thing, like, people do that, but as a standard policy, it doesn't really happen anymore, regrettably. And I think it might be a good idea for game stores to maybe, if you buy a system off, actually, if you buy a system and offer a game for cheap, you may have people just try to do that and then try to resell the system elsewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much of a right solution to that. At least the 3DS seemed to come with some weird little mini games and things
Yeah.
built into it.
It came with something that you can play with. It's discouraging to take a system home and not have anything to do on it other than just like muck around with the settings. Imagine taking home a GameCube and then turning it on and then it's a menu screen. Ooh, and then you just like adjust the menus and you go up and you go back down, you go down, and you go back up and left and right. And it's like
When I got
like 10 minutes.
When I got the N64, I didn't have enough money left over to buy a game for it. So for the first little while, I was actually renting games to play on the N64. And actually, I still haven't, like, at one point I was thinking about buying Jet Force Gemini and actually finishing that, but I guess it just lack of motivation. It's like, it was, yes, my first N64 game I ever played, but it's decently expensive enough that you think, well, for less money I can buy Dark Souls 2 or whatever, and I have the PS3, so why not just buy Dark Souls 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I love myself and I don't want to injure myself while playing video games. That's why.
And out of all of those, I would still willingly buy Bloodborne, knowing full well what it's going to do to me. Full well.
Well, then you need a PS4 for that.
Yeah, I do. I need a PS4 for that.
But
Or a PC. Isn't not on the PC yet?
not on the PC yet.
Jeez.
Holding out hope. I mean, the other Dark Souls ended up on there eventually. Like, there's this weird little thing they do occasionally where it's a timed exclusive, and they usually say that first, but and if it isn't, then it isn't. It's it seems like a great game, but I have absolutely there's nothing that's making me want to buy a current generation right now.
Yeah, I see that. I understand that. Okay, next point. DLC.
Nintendo, you were the last bastion of buy a game, get a game for the price of a game. What happened?
It was too tempting. The money was there, the demand was there. I mean, this was something that Nintendo fans wanted, and I will go toe to toe with any Nintendo fan in terms of our fandom. I will enter the ring willingly. And I
But you
have
have to admit, like that was once upon a time a really great thing, and Nintendo did that for a very long time. Like buy a game, get a game
get a
for the
game
price of the
for
game,
the price
and
of the game.
essentially DLC and an abuse of DLC is what eventually led to the free to play model, and that has more issues than good things. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of good things about free to play. I think like the issues and problems are like 4 times more.
Right. Now, Nintendo has historically always, I mean, they'll either be the first to try something that no one will try, like the Wiimote, or they will let other people try other ideas first and then come in afterwards. Like online play, they weren't the first to do it. Discs, they weren't the first to do that. And now DLC is that same thing. DLC has been prevalent, at least as far as maybe even Xbox, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, there was the paid service. I'm not sure if there was DLC at that time.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, Xbox
But
unto itself had a pretty short life.
yeah, so we're looking at Xbox 360, PS3 as like the first consoles that fully started offering DLC, and the Wii didn't. The Wii still just give you your game, and in fact, whenever they had to do a patch, there was one time where there was this really bad game-breaking glitch in Metroid Other M, which many people went on to say, "Oh yeah, that glitch is called playing Other M." I'm not one of those people, but that joke was too funny for me not to say. I am. And in order to patch the game, you had to download the patch, save it onto an SD card, plug the SD card into the Wii. Clearly, this was not like patching wasn't in their plans. They accepted that you make the game, you put the game out, it's done. But now the Wii U has DLC, and the thing that I was holding out hope for is that in Smash Brothers they weren't going to have any downloadable characters, even though that can actually be abbreviated as DLC. I was fine with stages, music, costumes, skins, items, modes, everything.
Okay, I would really draw the lines at items and modes because I would feel at the very least like a game like if you look at the previous Smash Brothers incarnations, you could go into the rules and do all sorts of things. Everyone's now metal. Gravity is now half as light.
Yeah.
So even though you're metal, you're all jumping into the air. The items are really low, but all the items are really massive healing things. So it's all fights to get them, and
Okay.
so you can
I'll
essentially create your
yeah.
own like you keep
I'll
calling.
concede items and modes, but I'm saying that to illustrate the point that the characters is where I would have drawn the line and where I did draw the line. I haven't bought any characters and I won't. And the
But
character
you own both versions, so you get
I got
Mewtwo
Mewtwo for free,
Yeah.
so obviously I'm going to take that. But I guess if I really wanted to stand up for my own principles, I wouldn't have even have downloaded that. But I mean, it was free. I bought
It's
the game
Mewtwo.
twice. Yeah, it's
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 like
not just that.
Lucario, but more fun.
Yeah, I like the car. It's not just that I'm personally disappointed that they didn't do the thing that I wanted to, and it's not just about me, being a baby. It's about the the integrity of what you're willing to say your game is when you put it out. Smash Brothers is defined by the characters. They are the most crucial aspect. If not for the characters, Smash Brothers wouldn't exist. It would just be some weird fighting game where people beat the crap out of each other and try to push each other off the stage.
So basically, Fox versus Fox on Final Destination.
Yeah,
Endlessly.
it would have been the competitive game that they're going for anyways. But because the characters came out, the characters are what defines each individual game. And again, I mean, we have a Smash Bros. Episode planned for the future. I mean, every character really brings themselves into it. They change the way the game is played. They change dynamics. They change everything. And because it is so critical, in and that now that players don't have access to all those characters on their end, they are forced to face off against threats that they will not have had prior experience or even fair experience in facing. The DLC characters won't show up in single player if you don't download them. They won't show up in any tutorial. They're going to show up in the hands of another player who we assume has experience with it.
It's always a problem in game like where MOBA style games or Dota style games suffer from that a lot. They'll have a new
Yeah.
hero come out,
Yeah,
and
this was like a thought process that I was working on, but I'll let you finish your point first.
it's you always have a new character come out, and then especially if some people will just throw down money and take them immediately, they can occasionally have tactics you're not used to.
Right.
Since I was doing Heroes of the Storm for a bit, one of the examples is Leoric, the Skeleton King, comes out, and I feel he had a general attitude and presence which people didn't understand, so a lot of people bought him, ran into matches, and got their asses kicked.
Yeah.
The one they came out that the lone druid character, I forget his name,
Rexar.
Rexar, he has a whole thing of commanding the pet and understanding where the pet is in relation to yourself in order to line up some skills. And I see a lot of people have no freaking clue what they're doing. Now, be it the resolve that I've played a lot of Dota, I'm just sitting there thinking like, I used to play I usually play Beastmaster, and I can get every one of his pets and the Necro summons doing something different. So the fact that you guys have difficulty pushing one button in terms of go attack and come back, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
But again, you see a lot of people who don't understand that concept either in facing it or trying to counter it.
Exactly.
Like when you have to tell your friend or your assassin character, hey, no, stop attacking. Yes, I know the bear is almost dead, but it still has more health than the guy control. Stop attacking the bear and attack the other guy.
My strategy in Heroes of the Storm has been just shoot whatever is closest to me, and it is working.
It is. It's
surprisingly working.
I've been back and forth on that, and ultimately I'm again abandoning Heroes of the Storm because I just find it's too popcorny. It's too greasy chips. Like it tastes good. It's nice for a quick snack, but then you're left empty afterwards.
You're left wanting.
Yeah, Dota 2.
You can come down from Dota and you need to drag from a cigarette. It's like there's these highs that you reach, but it's also that there's the highs are really high, but the lows are really low. And when you experience those lows, you don't want to touch Dota for a week.
Yeah.
Heroes of the Storm, in the worst case scenarios, I'll be pissed off, but I'll come back to it after like an hour.
Yeah, but okay, we seem to stop on Heroes for a while. But the last example I wanted to do of this concept was actually going to Dota 2, Abaddon, one of my favorite heroes of the whole game. When he was first released, he was considered to be incredibly broken because of how his ultimate worked.
Right.
And his ultimate is very easy to counter. When you hear the bell go off and he starts glowing, and all of a sudden all the damage you're doing to him is now healing him instead of hurting him, you stop attacking him. This is a concept which players did not get initially because they're too locked in anti-mage, skull basher, butterfly mode.
Yeah.
Jump in and hit somebody as many times as you can, or go in and again just bash them repetitively. The idea that we have to press the S button, disengage, just would not register with people. And until
one thing I did is that I actually mapped the hold hotkey to S. Because not only does they stop and they don't attack. Because sometimes you don't want to attack exactly what you're saying. That's just a little tidbit. So the reason why we're talking about this is that
it's the same thing for fighting games. Like
let's say that hypothetically, the game is perfectly balanced and that every character is equal. And I actually kind of like when I first started playing Smash 4, the only reason why I'm willing to take it seriously as a competitive game is because I feel like they achieved that. There might be some slight variances just in terms of the one-on-one setting, but overall, I think the game was actually balanced, and I think they did a good job on it. So now the question is, well, where will the inevitable imbalance come from? And it comes from experience. And when you can't experience the characters because you don't pay money for that, that is essentially a form of play to win because it's pay to win, and it's paying to give yourself an advantage, even if it's not a tangible physical advantage in the game itself. It's an experience advantage. It's a style advantage. It's a choice consequence advantage. You know more, and you paid for that knowledge. And that is not fair to the players, and I'm very disappointed that it happened.
There's a certain amount of reading. Like, I do play a lot of fighting games, like actual fighting games, and there's a certain amount of reading characters.
Well, let's not say, okay, I get what you mean. But yeah.
I did that as a tribute to you. I did that because I figured you were going to say it.
It's true.
But
it's true. You're right.
Anyways, in actual fighting games, there's a lot of times where you have to read opponents. You have to understand where they're located. What do they next do? What are they likely to do? They're in the air. Are they going to try to hit me with a heavy attack because they have an advantage? Are they going to actually try to force themselves to land and hit me low as a mix-up? Are they going to try to launch a projectile? Like you always have to... Again, you have to read those characters and you get used to them. And I find stuff like Guilty Gear XR'd because they've essentially started the franchise again. They've shrunk the pool, and thus it becomes very easy to recognize these motions because you are encountering these fighters often. You go into something like Blaze Blue Chrono Phantasm Extend, and it's like, okay, guys, I think you're kind of out of ideas for characters, and now I've got no idea what the clusterfuck's going on. If you separate characters into DLC, you can't watch them in action. You can't see them move. You can't understand this is their jump speed, this is their whatever.
Yeah, I mean, AI is really important in these games because the AI is essentially the developer giving you some idea how they expect the character to be played. So even facing AI is important, even if it's not going to be at the same level as facing a person.
And even going back to the Abaddon example, a character could bring a totally balanced but nonetheless completely new concept to the table. And if you don't have proper experience against it, you could just end up getting completely rolled over their first few matches until you finally learn, maybe I should stop attacking you when
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, and it's already you that the person who took advantage of that lack of knowledge already eked out a few extra wins, and those wins are recorded, and it changes your win ratio, changes the way people think about you when your wins are that much higher. It's not right for a win to not be earned on the terms that that win deserves, but it's very difficult to monitor that because there's so many factors involved. But hey, I mean, Dota 2 is an example of a game that does DLC well right, even if they do go completely overboard with it. It's cosmetics, game adjustment, heads up display, music, everything that makes the experience more personal and allows you to foster a deeper connection with the game. Great.
And they
Charging
have
for a character? No. No,
No.
no, no,
And
no.
I think that's one of the big reasons why Dota 2 was able to explode like it did and get everyone's attention. Because, hey, are you sick and tired of League of Legends, but are still somewhat attached to all that time you spent unlocking all these heroes and all these things? Well, here we have Dota 2. Everyone's already unlocked. You're
Oh,
welcome.
but I got really good on these characters. Yeah, no worry. There's a Dota equivalent for you.
Yeah, I do like a lot of a lot of cosmetic options that they've gone into. Smash Brothers is cool. They
Sure.
have had a lot of characters. It is a little sad though because you'll see something like here's a Zero outfit for one of your characters, and their first thought is like, oh, so Zero's not going to be a playable
Yeah,
character
a
then.
lot of people are like, "Oh, there's not going to be a Lloyd Irving." I mean, it's a consolation prize, and it's just that I if they maybe had thrown in an announcer specifically saying the name instead of just saying me, I think that might have been better. But it's like, well, now you're really teasing us by
Yeah,
like it's
there's
like
a
it's
Lloyd Irving outfit.
yeah.
Oh. Well, another thing, like we have Squid Girl and possibly Squid Boy from Splatoon.
Mhm.
Here's your first new independent property in who knows how long. I'm sure a
I think
lot
since Pikmin,
since Pikmin.
yeah.
And, this is a perfect chance to say, here's a new character, the Splatoon girl or the Splatoon guy. And yeah, it probably really complicated making them work because of how the mechanics in Splatoon are, but that would have been amazing. Like, how dedicated we are to this new, intellectual property we have? They're
What
in
if
Smash Brothers now.
What if they? I think that if they had released that character for free, or like get it for free if you buy Splatoon, I'd be like, that's pretty cool. Honestly,
Or attach her to the Splatoon amiibo. So you buy the Splatoon
yeah,
amiibo, you plug it into your game. Here's your DLC. I'd pay an extra $10 for that,
yeah. I mean,
but
if
I'd need an attachment for
at
using
least, at
amiibos on my
least,
3DS.
yeah. I mean, at least you get a trophy for that. At least you get something out of that. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the tablet on the Wii U. Now, I for one actually quite like the tablet. I
It's a big controller. I have big hands. I
yeah.
like have like I
I
have.
have medium-sized hands.
Well, I mean that's kind of why I had to spend a little extra money on an actual gaming keyboard and a gaming mouse because those are the only things that come in bigger sizes than average, 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 average. And it's always so hard when I'm trying to type on my mom's laptop. I think you've seen how ridiculous my typos get on that tiny keyboard.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. Like I sometimes I'm like, what? Why did you? There's so many letters involved here that didn't need to be involved, and but you're just trying to get the message to me as soon as possible, which I respect. All right, so
Like the first half of it is I'm constantly going back and fix, going back to fix. Then I hit the half and the 2/3 marks. I just say fuck it. He understands.
yeah, exactly. It's always good for a laugh too. It's like, all right, well, not only is it a message, but it's also a puzzle. I the problem with the Wii U tablet isn't necessarily the tablet itself. We actually talked about the tablet in the Nintendo Good episode, which is the battery life isn't a problem because you can always just plug it in and play. The integration is a smart idea for integration, and there are some features that even I didn't know about for the first year. I did figure out that you can actually use the tablet as a remote control, and you can sync it with whatever satellite and TV you had. Now, my TV is 10 years old, and my satellite is 15. So if anyone's TV and satellite had no right to interface with that Wii U tablet, it would have been mine, but they worked. So
Wow.
it will.
I can't even find a functional universal remote for my television.
Yeah, it's a very innovative feature. It's a great thing, and my parents and my family have actually slowly started replacing using the remote controls with this one tablet because they don't have to worry about individual batteries or where the hell did it go. It's hard to lose. The issues have been and this issue has come up with Nintendo before. It's the development support. Number one, a lot of the apps are kind of like half finished. Like the Netflix app has only just been fixed, and every time they fix it, they actually like remove something that made it better. Like now when I use Netflix, no matter what I do, the the footage will be on the screen, even if I'm watching it on the TV. I can understand don't have it on the TV, just on the screen, but because I couldn't turn it off,
That
it's
would
like
eat through the battery life of the tablet.
unless it's plugged in. The upside is that one of the great things is that I was able to plug my headphones into the tablet, put my headphones on, and then watch the movie with my headphones on. Now my TV at home rattles. It's so old that it makes a clicking noise. So the fact that I was able to do that was nice. But developers have not taken the time to make this product work, and it's not the developer's fault. It's Nintendo's. Nintendo has to be the one to prove this concept, and even they haven't really started proving it. And the reason why is because they're talking about the NX now. They're starting to generate excitement for the next thing. It's
The
one.
Wii U cannot be that old.
I got my Wii U 2 years ago, and I think it came out 3 years ago as of this date, which is 9/25/15. Yes, and I feel like if people had warmed up to the Wii U more than they had, the Wii U might have successfully been the last Nintendo console that they ever needed to put out. And the reason why is because Nintendo doesn't give a crap about advanced graphics. They're fine with just like do it, it's fine.
Not to mention, the most advanced console usually is the one that isn't doing very well because it makes it harder for developers to develop for it.
Yeah, I mean, and the games they look and play better, but sorry, they look and sound better, but they don't play any better because every time you update the visuals, that ends up being where the majority of your processing power is dedicated to. So you can't advance gameplay, you can't advance AI, you can't advance game structure, you can't advance anything. The best games are the indie stuff now because they are having these more reserved art styles that allow them to do other things. Like if there's any game that I would buy a PS4 to play, it would be No Man's Sky because that game looks unbelievable, and it's not cutting edge technology. It's the good tech is good behind the scenes software. It's good world generation, but the game itself doesn't look real, and it doesn't need to.
Well,
It's fine.
as someone who likes fighting games, I most certainly like the idea of them being 60 frames per second, but quite honestly, that's a visual thing. And then what I mentioned before about recognizing tells, that kind of stuff, you can still do that in 30 frames per second. It's just the 60 just looks smoother, and
Yeah.
it's not needed, but it is playing.
Sometimes it's actually a detriment. There are certain formats that will be worse for having extra frames. And this was something that I think I had mentioned before. It was how Red Letter Media talked about the difference between watching a movie in 42 frames per second versus 24. The fact is, the more frames you have and the more information you convey, the less the mind is filling in the blanks, and it makes the experience less immersive because it's basically giving you everything.
Not to mention, I also remember there was a fictional TV show, I forget what it's called, but they had a large screen TV, and it's like whoa, that's big. Yeah, it's whatever by whatever, and it has this many pixels, which are this many pixels more than the human eye can see.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, whoa, and it's like this one character is like,
So cool.
wait, what?
Yeah. The thing that I guess I can't really blame anybody but Nintendo for is there's not just Netflix or YouTube. There's Crackle. There's Show Me. There's Hulu. I think Hulu actually is on the Wii U. But there are so many apps and there's so many things that would be great to have downloadable onto the Wii U tablet. But they're not going to bother because the install base isn't there.
I would like to take a moment just to divert for a moment. I really, really have concerns with the fact of Netflix and Show Me and Hulu, all this stuff, all packing their own exclusive shows. And if you're going to do that, I feel like you are under obligation to put those onto DVDs. Like, as soon as the season's over or whatever, say, here's season 1 of Daredevil on DVD. Here's season 1 of iZombie, which I think iZombie actually did do that. But if you're going to make, House of Cards has been doing that, but if you're going to make exclusive shows to your whatever thing, like you are fracturing the community, so to speak. So
'Cause a lot
you,
of people might like the show, but if they're not subscribing, they would never know.
yeah, so you are, again, I think would be under obligation to make sure those eventually get to DVD format.
Well, you said that House of Cards did it. So I think as long as the show itself is big enough, they'll go for it.
I don't
And
know if I think Hemlock Grove maybe. Daredevil, I've yet to see. I think that's something that's having,
they'll have
like,
to work it out with Marvel and everything.
yeah.
But I think it's going to be good as far as that's concerned. I think that we will see a lot of that, and I wouldn't be surprised if you pick up the DVD and it gives you like a 3 month free subscription to Netflix or whatever, just to sweeten the deal a little bit. I think that would be okay. So we kind of like gone around the criticism of the Wii U tablet. I was really excited for this idea that if the Wii U maybe not was the last console ever, but at least was going to stick around for even longer than the typical console generation cycle of 7 to 8 years, because all these games are trying to not just be their games, they're also trying to position themselves as institutions. And one of the ones that actually did it surprisingly better than even I would have thought was Sonic Lost World. Here was an example of a game that will offer DLC, and it will give you more levels to play around in. And these levels are specific to the manner in which this game is produced, which is essentially Sonic Galaxy. Because I'm not expecting to see a sequel to Sonic Lost World, because they don't need to advance the technology. They don't need to advance anything. They just need to add more levels. So at that point, all we really want to see is just more Lost World gameplay, if that's what you're into. And I was hoping for that, and I don't think we're going to see that now. I think we're going to see a lot of developers starting to get their ideas together for the NX and sort of abandon these principled ideas that they had on the Wii U. And it's disappointing, because now I know, well, there's going to be another Smash Bros coming out on the new system. If they carry it over, I would love that, but I doubt we're going to see that. Hyrule Warriors, if they do another Warriors game, we're going to have to do that again. We're going to do another Mario game again. It was one thing to, in the past, buy these games and, just play them to death and then put them on the shelf until you come back later and not have to worry about putting out additional content, because you got everything that this game could have given you. But now that these games have all this DLC, I feel like the idea of putting this away burns me more now than it did then, because of how much more money I had to spend on what feels like more or less the same experience, or like quantitatively compared to how much I played on the 64 or the GameCube. And I would have been fine with it if these games had been the ones that stick around indefinitely. If this was the Smash Brothers that's just going to go until we all stop caring about Smash Brothers. If this was going to be the Mario Kart. If it was no longer about this will hold you over until the next one, and it was this is it, which is a model that I really feel like most game developers should look into. Instead of having to buy a soccer game every year, you buy FIFA, and you have to maybe pay for some yearly updates, but you never have to worry about buying another piece of hardware or another disc again. It's done. And they're not going to do that now. We're moving on to a new system. I'm going to have to rebuy all these games, or hope that there's still a community around for Smash 4, which honestly, I don't know. I think a lot of the people who, like me, who loved Smash 4 loved it because of what it did differently from the other ones. And if they continue that on the next system, Smash 4 is going to be a waste. The long term isn't there anymore, and it's very frustrating.
Ironically, that's one of the comments people made about Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition. Oh, they've changed too much. They've made too much different. This isn't the game we know and love. Gentlemen, they
Just
took
over there.
yeah they took everything that they learned making editions 1 advanced 2 3 4 or 2 3 3.5 etc. they took everything they learned, then they wiped the slate clean and they built anew with everything they learned. And in a way, I think that's kind of what they did with Smash Brothers. And instead of just slapping on another point whatever to it, they just, okay, what have we learned? Let's get rid of what we have and start again using all this new information.
Yeah. And once we see the new one, I think we'll all start being excited again if it's that much better. And we're at the point now where we can't see it. But, I used to think when I saw GameCube graphics, I'm like, oh, it doesn't get any better than this. And then it did. So maybe it will.
And there's also the comment that this is essentially the Call of Duty model in it that they can sell everybody, or get them all a pre-order and get them all launch weekend and all that stuff, a $60 game every year or
Yeah.
other year because they're doing Call of Duty and Black Ops as two separate franchises or whatever.
But
But
I mean,
that
if you are a Call of Duty guy, you're going to buy all of them.
but that is essentially how they make that's how they make their money, and I think Nintendo to an extent maybe recognizes that. I mean, look at the amount of uh, Smash Brothers they've sold at opening, during the first few weeks up till now. Now imagine if they could replicate those profits every couple of years reliably. It's
It's hard to ignore that, especially when you have investors who are coming down on you for why are you not doing what they're doing.
yeah.
Honestly, like the fact that Nintendo still relies on investors is ridiculous. They're a surprisingly insecure company when you consider how much they've accomplished. I mean, they've made a lot of mistakes, they've been criticized a lot, but the fact that they've been able to hold it together for this long is nothing short of commendable. And if they had just fired all their investors and put out a crowdfunding campaign that says this is how much the investors are going to give us this year, we would rather do a crowdfunding campaign. Everybody's gonna get their wallets out and be like, "You better believe we got your back."
Well,
We want to be on their side, and we don't want to feel like they're screwing us over.
given the size of the company, I feel like that would be a very interesting move. And I guess there's a difference between, like, are you really talking investors or shareholders?
I think I might mean shareholders.
Because shareholders is a different thing. They've purchased a tiny part of the company.
Yeah.
And if you don't own 51% of your company, you may find yourself taking orders from somebody you don't want to. So that is a bit of a thing to keep in mind. Like buying back all the shares from all the shareholders would be a financial burden that could make the American debt look like pocket change.
That is some serious hyperbole. But I definitely see your point.
Yeah, it's and also the whole idea of the biggest problem I think with crowdfunding is a lot of people seem to want says in what they're doing. Like I've invested in your
Yeah.
project, I want to be on some kind of forum where I can report bugs and mention issues I want to be in on, and I really don't want to see a crowd opinion sourced Kirby game or a crowd opinion sourced Zelda game. Like these people are creative, they know what they're doing because this is what they do for a living.
Yeah.
Stand back, let them do their job, and if something is completely broken in game, well, we got patching now. But that's it's kind of like the whole idea of J.K. Rowling supposedly accepting criticism or understanding what fans were saying she was doing wrong and altering what was going on in her book, because I don't know if that was actually true or not. But the concept of that is wrong because J.K. Rowling is the author. These are her characters. She knows what they're doing. And yes, you can write fan fiction all you damn want, but it's her brainchild. It's her property.
Yeah.
You should just let her write the damn book as she was going to, because this is
She knew the story.
Alternatively, Stephanie Meyer should have abandoned it after the first chapter and let somebody else write Twilight.
Or listen to criticism.
Or not write it at all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Like,
Yeah,
I just, before we get too many rage comments, I appreciate and, in fact, embrace the fact that Stephanie Meyer's and Twilight have put female authors on the map. I kind of wish somebody else did it with better content, but, diversity in our authors is a good thing. I personally don't give a damn about the race, ethnicity, or sexuality of whoever provides me with entertainment, as long as the entertainment is good.
Yeah.
But, getting more female writers out there, that was a positive side effect of Twilight. So I can't really get into the time machine, go back and destroy the book, because it may hurt that trend.
Yeah, and also every single one of us had to experience every age up until the age that we are now. You know, when you are a 13-year-old teenage girl, you face different complications than you do any other age, gender, or race. And Twilight positions itself as something that helps people, that makes people feel better. Although, you know,
I wouldn't go that far.
it's entertaining for them at that time. Will they grow out of it? Hopefully. And if not, well, now you know.
I'm
It's
I
a great Richter test for who you don't want to bother talking to again.
Yeah, if women out there are all looking for their Edward Cullens or their equivalents, I'm on Team Jacob.
Fair enough.
I probably should actually read the books before I start saying I'm on Team Jacob. Oh God! Oh, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? Let's get back to Nintendo, please, before I dig myself a bigger hole.
Okay, so my last criticism of Nintendo is, well, I'm probably going to think of a few more afterwards, but my last major one is, where are the games? Like, and not just stuff
Metroid.
and not just stuff like Hyrule Warriors, which I sort of associate the same thing that you said with Heroes of the Storm. It was very junk foody. It was just like passable entertainment. But Hyrule Warriors was a game that I feel like could have been a hugely better game. And it could have been more Zelda. It could have been less about just like a bunch of faceless soldiers and then you kicking the crap out of all of them. I would have actually liked to see it scaled down to maybe you and about 19 other individualistic characters throughout all of Zelda going up against like a bunch of lizards and a bunch of skeletons and a bunch of spiders. Just like a really dynamic, interesting fight between two diverse groups of people. That's what I would have expected to see a Zelda Warriors game.
So less RTS and more RTS RPG.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly like that. I would have loved to see that. I would.
Like instead of just here's your soldier units, it's here are various soldier-y characters from the history of Zelda. They
Yeah.
actually have names, they have personalities,
Yeah.
and if they go down in battle, you feel bad.
Yeah. And I kind of saw it coming too because I've played the Warriors games in the past, and I love the Warriors games. I mean, I think I do enjoy the gameplay quite a bit. They do what they do right. They do very well,
Which is not female outfits, or at least not practical female outfits.
but the rest of it is it just lacks creativity, it lacks inspiration, and I feel like the problem wasn't actually Koei this time. Not to say that it's their fault every time, but it's like someone said we just have to put something out to hold people over, something to entertain people, and they say, well, let's get a Warriors game going. We already are working on a Warriors game. Just change some skins around, turn it into a Zelda thing, and they keep thinking that it's okay to push the nostalgia button. I mean, and they push that button every second they get. There's like a part where you have to escort a bomb chew from one side of the map to the other, and I'm like, oh, a bomb chew. I wonder how they designed it this time, and it looks like an enlarged version of the Ocarina of Time bomb shoe, it like to a T. I'm like, I remember these bomb shoes when I was a kid. Yes, I get it. I love Zelda, and I loved Zelda since I was a kid. I don't care to see that again. The whole point of loving something isn't just to reminisce about the past. It's about excited for where it's going, what it's going to look like in the future. And this was an opportunity to take those Zelda concepts and come up with some new ideas for it. And the only new idea that they came up with was a couple of new characters.
If your stuffed animal comes alive, you want it to grow up with you, not just stay the same stuffed animal all the time, because that's
Yeah.
basically the definition of an inanimate object.
Yeah.
By the way, I hope none of my stuffed animals come alive. It's not that I don't love them, it's just that would raise so many complications and problems in my life.
Have you ever wanted to like just meet another version of you?
I did. It didn't end well.
Oh, that's too bad. I would love to meet another version of me. The two of us would play so much Smash together, try out different things. It'd be
Yeah,
fun.
well, we pretty much had to do the 2-man enter, 1-man leave thing within the first 3 minutes.
Fair enough. So when we're getting back to the games released on the Wii U, the reason why every Nintendo system still manages to be worthwhile, even if they don't all perform all that great, is that there's always a few games on there that are so well put together and are just great games that it's worth having the system around to play them. On the NES, plenty of games to choose from. Obviously, the three Mario games, the Zelda game, Kid Icarus, Metroid, and goes on and on. Super Nintendo, oh, so many RPGs, so many RPGs. Smash TV, still one of my favorites. N64 kind of wavered a little bit. Obviously, you have Mario 64, you have the two Zeldas, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. Some experimental ones too. If you ever see Hexen, that was a really interesting first person 3-man medieval game. It was weird, but it was cool. GameCube, Wii. The problem with the Wii U right now is that a lot of these games feel very generic to the point where they are named generically, like Super Mario 3D Land for Wii U, Smash Bros
Or
for
3D
Wii U.
Land, Super Mario Super, depending.
Yeah, the point isn't to just exist. The point is to exist in a manner that puts it on a different platform than the other games of that series. It's not about advancement, it's about a lateral move where things are equal but not better or worse. Better in an objective sense, where obviously the game's going to look better, the game's going to run better. That's fine. But I mean, Smash Bros. Melee still runs like a dream. It's still a great game to actually play. If you 60 frames per second still looks good, it's fine. So what's going to happen when we get to the next iteration of these games? Are they going to be generic? Because if so, I'm not going to have two generic games. I'm going to probably get rid of one, probably. So, but then you have something like Super Mario Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion or really any of the Zeldas. They're all interesting because they all take the core concepts and experiment with them while still retaining the core concepts. That's been Nintendo's bread and butter for all this time. And now we're seeing less of that. The Mario 3D Land game or 3D World game on the Wii U is very fun, and it's a great culmination of everything that Mario has done. But it is generic. It is really really simple. There's no edge. It's just a way station for what they feel like is their next step. And the Wii U never should have felt like this. It never should have felt like something that is just kind of here to keep us occupied until the next big thing comes. I think the NX will make up for a lot of these mistakes. It's just that we never had to call them mistakes. We just had to accept what the Wii U is and embrace that, and we're not really seeing that.
Well, I even as a continuation to your point, I remember before we did this episode, we just had a brief conversation, nowhere near an entire YouTube video by itself, about the whole Zelda Link to the Past and Zelda Ocarina of Time, and it really was a matter of it was an evolution of mechanics, and a lot of things were changing, and they both were Zelda games. The whole idea that, Ocarina of Time isn't a real Zelda game is bullshit because it changed. The spirit was the same, the hardware changed. It's like the Doctor when he regenerates. The software's the same, the hardware changes. So, each Doctor brings something new to the table, but that's all a lateral thing. Okay, I seem to, that was a
I like the software hardware thing though. That's actually quite
so
clever.
the spirit is always the same, and that's, if you look at a lot of the Mario games, like the spirit has stayed the same, and Sunshine, like, it not only added the flood as this interesting alternate mechanic, it did a lot different with its environments, but still at the core it was the same Mario game we all knew. And you are right in that this generation is mostly a holding pattern as opposed to actually really jumping in too many directions. I think
Now, what I think that they might have been going for is if they had this idea that the Wii was going to get people interested in gaming, then the Wii U was going to introduce them to all of the franchises. Like it was going to show them this is what Smash Bros. Is, this is what Mario is, this is what Zelda is. I'm expecting the next Zelda game to be the best on a technical level, but probably the most simple or the most generic one. I'm expecting that, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right about it. Obviously, time will tell. So I think what they wanted to do was get you climatized to how these games work without taking any major liberties with it, because then you're going to encourage people to go through the backlog and try out some of the interesting experiments over the years. It's just that the core Nintendo fan base tended to feel really burned about this, and the solution was just give us some more games to play. Give us some stuff that makes us want to keep the Wii U. Give us some stuff that's interesting. The Wonderful 101, if you have a Wii U, get that game. That game is a solid, innovative, creative, brilliant, well-designed, no DLC needed, start to finish action brawler. Just, it is still one of the best reasons to get a Wii U, in my opinion.
And one of the things I think of a lot with the Wii U is Bayonetta 2. I mean, here was a game that was just another blast. It had fun with itself, but again, it had fun with itself. It never like turned to the camera and winked. Okay, she did actually literally do that once
Actually,
or
quite
twice.
often, actually.
Yeah, but it had fun with itself without really getting to the point of self-referential or complete and total stupidity. And that's why I think a lot of people were simultaneously surprised and not surprised when it showed up on the Wii U,
Yeah.
because here's Nintendo and we believe in fun first and foremost. So
Yeah.
a game where you feel fun playing the character, we get to feel powerful and look fantastic doing it. Of course, that belongs on the Wii U. And it's also it's the thing no one expected. I remember when the Wii came around and spontaneously No More Heroes, with its borderline nudity, rampant sexuality, a character who basically is an idiot, and the entire plot is people taking advantage of him because he happens to be skilled at combat while still being an idiot. It really, like, it was a very interesting stab in a very interesting overall direction. And then, like, that was sort of the staple thing of, oh, you don't think this is a mature system? No More Heroes. And Wii
The
U.
most immature game that you can.
Yeah. You don't think the Wii U's a mature system? Bayonetta, her clothes disappear when she summons stuff, and and she kicks serious ass. Like
She is.
she needs to be like the poster girl for like gamer feminism or something. Like, holy shit. Like, she doesn't need a prince to come and save her. She can
Yeah.
kick the ass as of
They'll
hell.
they'll take her down a peg because of her body, which is unfortunate. But like shit, if I was a woman, I'd have that body in a
Well,
heartbeat. You kidding me?
well,
Play with myself all day, all these swords sticking out. Have so much fun.
Well, I remember in Bayonetta 1, if you purchased any of the alternate costumes, they no longer do the disappearing thing, because only her default costume is made of her hair. So you can easily tone down the PG rating by simply purchasing an alternate costume. But, and then, of course, we can't forget the GameCube had Eternal Darkness, Sanity Requiem. Like, that was the original Amnesia. That was the original, like, we're going to fuck with your head. We don't want to mess around with the character. The character's just, they're here to represent you. We don't want inside the character's head. We want inside of yours.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those characters, they'll go through enough shit anyways. The last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to wrap up, is that if Nintendo's plan was to introduce a lot of the game franchises to people in a generic, safe way to get them interested, then for God's sakes, like, do everything. Do your generic Metroid. Do generic F-Zero. Do generic Donkey Kong.
Just give us a Metroid, damn it, and not the stupid 4-player co-op thing. We saw the trailer. Like, God, trash that project and give us an actual damn Metroid. Or hell, just re-release the old Metroid with some updated graphics. I will be perfectly fine with that. I would love to play Fusion again. Fusion was great.
And it's just none of that. So we'll look forward to the NX, but yeah, I mean, learn some lessons here. We all wanted this to do better, and it didn't.
I also like to, as a closing point, I'm not totally happy with the new 3DS. I mean, so far I think it's only like 2 games which are you require a new 3DS to get. I mean, I understand. And the nice thing is they have released a peripheral that you can attach to the old 3DS that allows you to add the second joystick thing and allows you to scan amiibos into it and all that stuff. And that's good, because that means you're taking a piece of hardware and making it forward compatible. I mean, we all remember during the N64, it had that expansion slot they could plug in to make it more powerful. That is great. That is amazing. That shows me as a consumer that you have my interests in heart. And yes, there's going to be a new one that has it all built in. That's fine. I don't really feel like transferring my profile and all the coins and everything over to a new one. Whatever. And so far, again, I think there's only 2 games for the new 3DS, Xenosaga and I think something else. If you keep it very sporadic, if you keep it very thin, I think it'll be mostly acceptable. If like 90% of the 3DS games that come out are regular 3DS and not new 3DS, then that will be fine. I'm just really concerned this is going to turn into everything Nintendo makes. Like, the next 3DS Mario game is going to be a new 3DS Mario game. The next, 3DS Zelda game is going to be a new 3DS Mario.
Worse, there's going to be 2 versions of it. And you have to link them together, and that's the only way to face the boss.
Yeah, I don't know. So, I mean, just please, I accept this happened, Nintendo. I can find it in my heart to say it's okay. Do not abuse this. Use this incredibly sparingly. In fact, if we never see another new 3DS game, I think I'd be perfectly fine. I mean, for God's sakes, the old 3DS can run Monster Hunter 4. How much more damn advanced do you need your technology? Like, that is that's the kind of game when you look at it, you must think part of the 3DS is overheating. Like you don't need something more powerful than
Yeah.
that.
And for those of you who are looking for something to play, either, get a card game, a board game, a PC game, or just go to the backlog of Nintendo systems. There's no shortage of that. It does remind me of a strength that I've always admired of Nintendo, which is when they make a game, they make it count. And the game that was good then probably still good now. And a lot of those games are still examples of that. So you have options. It's just
Yeah, I find Double Dash is one of the most enjoyable Mario Karts in my opinion. I mean, I think they did a hell of a lot of amazing things for the new one, but Double Dash is still fun to plug in and get a friend. And like, I've got no idea, I'm gonna suck. Okay, that's fine. You sit in the back and throw items. There, I've introduced you to this
yeah.
concept.
It's a very Mario version of the you drive I'll shoot system. Which, by the way, I would love to see like Mario and Luigi be cops.
No, no, no,
Oh yes, yes.
no,
Okay.
no,
All right. Let's turn these off.
no.